Hello again. Well, I thought I'd do another video. Well, there was one TV programme that I'd never watched, although I had heard of, called Survivor, which is an American TV programme. I'd never heard of it, I had heard of it, sorry, but I'd never watched it, that's what I meant. Because I know that the first winner of the first series in 2000 was Richard Hatch, and I remember that he was gay. Nothing wrong with that. I don't discriminate. If people are nice to me, I'm nice to them, regardless of whether they're gay, black, Asian, no matter what country they're from. You know, if they're nice to me, I'll be nice to them. If they're not, I just won't talk to them, simple as that. But anyway, I've never really been interested in it, because apart from when I watched the first few series of Big Brother, I've never really been into reality TV. But what got me interested in the current series of Survivor is this lass called Eva Erickson. She's the youngest contestant in the current series of Survivor, series 48, yeah. And I heard that she's autistic, and I actually watched a video from the episode which was broadcast on the 26th of March, where she did this challenge where you had to get balls in a hole through a maze, and she completed the challenge successfully. Despite what was going on inside her head, she did it successfully. I know. She held it together, incredible. I mean, and then I actually saw afterwards she was sort of crying and struggled to control her emotions, and you know, and this guy called Joe Hunter, who was one of the contestants as well, who he was the only one that she'd told that she was autistic. You're not allowed to cross tribal lines in Survivor, but Jeff Probst, who was the presenter, actually said to him, "Do you want to go give her a hug?" And they hugged each other, and you know, she actually said that, you know, she gets overstimulated, and when she does, she loses control. I know the feeling, because that's happened to me many times, where I've had sort of meltdowns, episodes, as they're also called, you know, where everything's going round inside my head, and oh, bloody hell, I know. Of course, I haven't had one for years, because I try not to think about too much at once, but, you know. But everything that was going on inside her head at the time, she actually said that she was worried about letting her teammates down and everyone down, but despite what was going on inside her head, I watched the video, and she had a look of intense determination on her face, that she was thinking, I'm going to do this, no matter what, I will do this. And seconds later she did. She completed it despite what was going on inside her head. Because that's the thing, people with autism, like her and me, we struggle with a lot in our lives. But we're very determined as well. We don't let anything stop us. Nothing. When we want to do something, we do it. We don't let nought stop us. So, and that got me interested in this series of Survivor. You know, I'm interested in who's going to win it now. You know, and Joe as well. I actually saw the videos of where Joe was helping Eva. I mean, Eva is the only contestant ever to compete in Survivor who was autistic. She basically gave a speech after she'd been handed the trophy for granting her team immunity, that she told everybody that she's got autism, and she was diagnosed at a very young age, and nobody thought that she would amount to anything, you know, but with the help of her parents and people like Joe, she overcame the low expectations of her. But despite that, she still faces a lot of difficulties because of her autism. And she said about overstimulation, where when she has a lot going on inside her head, and that causes her to lose control. And like I said, I know the feeling, because I've had many episodes like that in my life where I've just, got overstimulated and just had a lot going on inside my head, and it's just, made me lose control. I don't get episodes like that as much as I used to, but, luckily, like her, I've got people who I can talk to, because I have carers coming to see me regularly, and I talk to them and, about how I'm feeling, and, and I've got my routines that I like to follow strictly, everything running like clockwork. One change in my routines, bloody hell, I tell you, I hate changes in routine. It's one thing I hate. I can't stand it. I mean, the thing is, if I was given, let's say, a few days notice of a change, then I can cope a lot better. Like, for example, if I was going, let's say, going for a walk and I was going to see a show I wanted to see. I mean, I don't go to shows, but I'm using it as an example. And I was told when I got there that it'd been cancelled. God, I'd be thinking, what the hell do I do now? But if I'd have been told, let's say, a week in advance, they say it won't be shown, I'd be still a bit upset. I'd be going, oh, I was looking forward to that. But I would make other plans. I'd think, right, what can I do instead? So, But the way Joe helped Eva, that made me think, well, if there was a lot more people like that in the world, a lot more people who were understanding like him, the world would be a much better place if everybody was that understanding, But unfortunately not everybody's as understanding as that, which is a shame, but, well, so that's what kind of got me interested in it, like Survivor. Sorry, I'm just getting feel a bit excited. Yeah, that's what people with autism do when they get excited. They may flap their hands or stim or whatever, In fact, when I was out for my walk earlier, I felt a bit excited and I flapped my hands a couple of times. Yeah, a couple of people saw me, but I didn't care. People can think what they like. I mean, I am who I am, and, that's it. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, people like Joe Hunter off Survivor, the world would be a much better place if there were more people like him. But the world would also be a much better place if there were more people like Eva as well, who are autistic, yes. Because I think if everybody was autistic, well, the world would be a better place. We'd be so much better organised. The world would be so much better organised all the time. I think everything would run like clockwork. I do. I mean, if everybody in life was autistic, I think the world would run like clockwork. Everybody would always be honest all the time. People would be a lot less likely to get offended because of that. Which is good. Because people are too easily offended these days. So yes, if everybody was always honest all the time, people wouldn't get offended anything like as much, because we'd always be used to hearing the truth all the time, which is what we need. Yeah. It's a case of comforting lies versus unpleasant truths. I'd rather hear the unpleasant truth, because it's the truth. Even if it's unpleasant, it's still the truth. Exactly. So, I'm running out of things to say, but, yeah. But also, again, back to Survivor, yeah, the fact that there is an autistic contestant, Eva, in Survivor is a good thing, because everybody who watched that episode will be a lot more aware of what autistic people go through in life. And hopefully a lot more people will be more understanding about what autistic people go through, no matter how much progress they've made in life. We'll always have the problems associated with autism. But she overcame a lot in her life. There's another more famous person who was diagnosed with autism at a young age, but who went on to win World's Strongest Man 3 times. Tom Stoltman, who comes from a place called Invergordon in the Scottish Highlands, and he still lives there as well. I mean, he was diagnosed with autism at the age of 5. He was told he would never achieve anything in life, and he actually believed that himself. But then, at the age of 16, under the guidance of his older brother Luke, who's neurotypical, who'd won Scotland's Strongest Man. He's 10 years older than Tom, but he'd won Scotland's Strongest Man. He got Tom into weight training, and Tom was determined then. He had a new goal in life, that he was going to achieve what his brother Luke did. And Tom did. He finished runner-up 3 years in a row to his brother in Scotland's Strongest Man, but won Scotland's Strongest Man twice. He's won Britain's Strongest Man 3 times and World's Strongest Man 3 times. And he was diagnosed with autism at the age of 5. And he says he still has a lot of difficulties in life because of autism, but the advantage of autism, one advantage is, we're so laser focused. That's what probably part of the reason why he's won World's Strongest Man 3 times. Not just because he's fucking huge, which he is. He's 6'8", and at his heaviest he weighed nearly 30 stone. So he's a foot taller than me and 2.5 times my weight. And I'm not a small man. He's absolutely massive. And you should see how strong he is as well. He lifts them stones that he lifts, weighing up to 1/4 of a ton. Basically like they weighed nothing. Yeah. But that's not the only reason. Part of the reason why he's won World's Strongest Man 3 times is because of his autism. Hyper-focused, laser-focused. Even more so than the other competitors even. I mean, you think they're focused, which they are. He's even more so. So, autism has its advantages and its disadvantages, just like everything in life. As my mum always said, you've got to take the rough with the smooth, and she were right. She always had a good point, did my mum. We may not have always agreed on everything, me and my mum, but but she were right, everything she said. Without my mum, it's 17 years now this year since she died, tragically, but without her, I wouldn't be here today. Yeah, I know I'm stating the bleeding obvious when I say that, but you know what I mean. I'd have probably topped myself. Things would have got too much for me, but she was one of the people who kept me sane. I'll always be grateful to her for that. I didn't do enough to show her how grateful I was when she was alive, and I regret that. I wish I'd have done more for her, but well, but I think she'd be really proud of me and what I've achieved. Anyway, I shall go now, because it's been 15 minutes now, this video, so I shall love you and leave you, and I shall speak to you all later. Look after yourselves. I'll see you all later.